Hello everybody and welcome to episode 15 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. We're recording this on the 19th of August 2015. I'm Darren Whittam and joining me as always is my good friend and co-host, the Goliath of Gaming, Mr. Anthony Chesson. Anthony, how are you?
Oh, hello! That was really cool. I felt like almost I should roar, like rah, the Goliath of Gaming. Hello, chap. How you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah, I was thinking, have I done Goliath of Gaming in a previous podcast? I'm starting to run short of introductions, so I don't know.
I want that on a T-shirt. I think I want that on the like, Goliath of Gaming and the big joypad.
Yeah, some sort of like Anthony stroke the Thing from Fantastic Four morph.
Oh yes,
that would be good. Ripping a pad apart or just skilling out.
That would be so cool. Ben Grimm is one of my favourite characters, so I would love that. Do you know what? It was really funny. I was in town today. I was in Tunbridge Wells, and I was walking through, and there was this little kid. He must have been about 6 or 7, and he had this T-shirt on. It was like, keep calm and carry on gaming, and it had an Xbox controller. And I just went to him, nice T-shirt like that. And he went, thanks, mister.
Oh, wow. Did you ruffle his hair sort of thing? You young whippersnapper.
You wouldn't know gaming. You need to play Rare Replay. Then you know gaming.
Oh, what a nice gesture. I bet he was made up.
He was. He seemed to strut after that.
Yeah, man.
I had my Halo T-shirt on, so he knew I was a gamer as well. So that was just quite cool.
Wow.
So it was very cool. So how's your week been anyway?
My week's been all right. What have I done this week that's got some kind of relevance to the podcast? Let me see. I've bought my ticket to EGX.
Woohoo!
Well, hey. So we're going to go, aren't we, mate?
We are indeed. I booked mine today. So,
yes.
Yeah, no, that's quite cool. We're going on the Sunday, aren't we? So Sunday the 27th, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. That'll be really good. I mean, we've left it a little bit to the last minute, but, you know, we live on the edge, don't we?
We do indeed. They were the only ones that were available, weren't they? I had to look through today, and it was just like, so I think we can only get in like after 10 o'clock or something like that. And but that's good because I've got to travel all the way up from Birmingham, up to Birmingham, I should say. So that kind of I can have a bit of a lay in. I can get up about 7.
Yeah, it's not too bad. That I mean, did give it a go as press. But we got refused, so maybe next year when we've got a bit more rep, I think we'll give it another go.
But absolutely, I mean, if anyone's listening and you're going to be at the Eurogamer, then on the Sunday, then let us know as well because it would be good to catch up and have a chat.
Yeah, we can meet up and have a chat, and it'd be great to do that while we're probably in the queue from 11 o'clock till 6 p.m. waiting to have a go on HTC Vive.
That's where you're heading for, isn't it? Straight away.
It is. I mean, I've just busted. That's one of the news items, so I'll come to it later. But yeah, I'm just thinking, please don't be in the queue all day, but we'll see what happens. I've also been happy with my score on Jetpac. Remember last week we discussed our little challenge on Jetpac on Rare Replay, and so I'm like a dog with a bone with little challenges like that. It surprised me how sort of tenacious I was being. Anyway, I was trying to just up my score, and I ended up getting 47. It's the Snapshot 1 on Rare Replay for Jetpac, and it's called Pop Culture. And we were having a little competition with it, and I ended up getting 47 bubbles popped in 30 seconds. It's the challenge is to see how many bubbles you're going to pop in 30 seconds. The highest wins. And I'm number 2 in the world, which is quite amazing. So I'm happy with that.
I was so impressed by that. That was just so cool. I mean, my top score is 26.
You just haven't been devoting your whole life to it like you should be.
No. It's surprising when I looked at kind of the games you've been playing this week. I was surprised it wasn't just like Jetpac Snapshot and that was it. But I was really surprised, because out of our group that we've got, the 4 of us, there was both you and Manny were kind of top 10. I mean, you're kind of lauding it in the top spot in number 2, and then Manny was about number 9.
And the thing is, I sort of wish I hadn't bothered because I'm that close to number 1. The top spot's got 49, and so I've been trying. I mean, I've just questioned myself. I was sat there last night. I thought I'll just try and do it now. It'd be great for the podcast to say I'm number 1, and it's just like just one more go. Just one more go. Just one more go. I must have spent 2.5 hours repeatedly doing that 30-second thing, and it's good testament to its addictive quality, or maybe to my addictive personality. I don't know which, but I was like actually just thinking to myself, Daz, mate, this is ridiculous. What are you doing sitting here playing Jetpac for? It doesn't matter. Stop. But anyway, I couldn't beat my score. I matched my score a few times. We got 47 a few times. Then I checked the leaderboard, and some upstart, some usurper, has matched my score at 47, and it's put them in second and me in 3. So if you've got the same score, it looks like it does it on alphabetical order of your gamer tag. So I've been bumped down to third place, even though I've got the same score, and even though I got it first. So I'm annoyed about that. So I don't know.
Wow.
I'll probably play a bit more actually, but because I'm sort of like I've never been top of the leaderboard in anything, and I'm so close. But it really must be a freak game to get enough bubbles to pop to get 50. So I don't know. I might just have to sort of rise above it and say no, I'm not going to do it anymore. But then part of me thinks, well, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Just try. So yeah, I've been playing that a little bit.
Well, absolutely. I mean, James is on holiday, and I've just put my joystick down, my joypad down, because I'm just, every time I play, I get so close. And then most of the time, when I get my score of 26, it's because a balloon's hit me. You know, I've kind of died. It's not that the time runs out; it's that I just get too excited when I get to 25, and then I just lose it every time, and it's just really funny. So, but no, keep going.
A lot of the time, I've got a high score when I've been either engaged in conversation or engaged in deep thoughts while playing it.
Shut up.
No, but it's because I think it's because that nervousness goes away. It's when I'm trying my best, going, oh, come on, and then I look at it and I'll survive to the end, and I've got like 30, or hold on, let me phrase this better for you. I've got like 22, and I'm like, I thought I did really well. And then the times when I've broken my own record and got a personal best has been like I've been thinking about stuff while playing it and almost done it on autopilot, if you know what I mean, and just let the force drive me, if you will. And it's just like, and then I sort of wake up out of a daze at the end of it, and it's like 47, bang, and I'm like, wow, look at this demon. But yeah, beating 49, so getting 50 to be in this top spot is proving rather difficult. But
holy moly,
you suggested maybe do a Spark stream of trying to hit that top spot, so I might do that. You know,
absolutely. I think you definitely should, because we got a Lost Spark Twitch account, so you should definitely kind of stream that, or even do it from your own one, your wife and later. Or is it Daz a Gamer on Twitch for you?
You know something?
You have no idea. But I tell you what, though, it's really funny. I did find something out about my gaming habits recently. Playing Arkham Knight, playing that when there is a countdown in games, I lose it. I don't know what it is. It's that
it's
kind
the pressure.
It is. It's that foreboding kind of countdown. That's kind of. I just can't do it, because there was a Riddler trophy on Arkham Knight, and you had to do 3 laps. And when it got to the end of the 3rd lap, and I was kind of lapping around, and I was doing really well, I just couldn't do it. I lost it every time, and it was just because, I mean, I've always found that, especially with Arkham Knight, it's very big on kind of just putting a lot of pressure on you, whether it's goons going, I'm going to get him, or, you know, all this sort of stuff, or the music. So I found that turning that off and listening to something else, like listening to something kind of calming, helps. But with a countdown, the moment there's a countdown in any game, I just lose it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you just feel that heat, don't you? You feel the pressure, the weight on your back, going, come on, let's get through this. And as well as time, as I find. The example I was thinking then, when I just did my silly little beep was Alien versus Predator on PC, because it's got the movement sensor, and it goes.
All right.
And when that used to start moving, I used to stop moving, and I'd be too tense. I'd be like, oh no, where are they? And just watching the dot, and I thought that was great, but that piled the pressure on, and then I'd be rubbish because I'd be too busy going, oh no, rather than just being cool.
Did you ever play Alien Isolation?
No, I didn't. I decided not to.
Oh, that was amazing. That had just that. You know, there was parts where you kind of lock yourself in a cupboard because the alien's really close, and you just know the alien's outside the door, and you just spend your time just kind of in a cupboard crying. It's just like, it was really good. It was such a good game. Yeah,
it sounded great. I want to play it for the atmosphere, but I don't want to sort of play the whole game from what I've read, because the bits with the androids running about and stuff. It sounded like to me the idea of it didn't stretch to the full game, but the bits that worked really well. So I sort of want to just sort of, when it's cheap, I'll probably pick it up, because I just want to play those beginning levels with the alien. I think it'd be really cool.
I think it is at the moment. I think there was a sale on, I don't know if it's stopped now, but on the PlayStation Network it was really cheap.
I don't know if it's cheap enough to see. I've given it a worth, and I don't think it's hit the worth that I've given it. I'm talking about what it's worth for me to play like one level. It'll be like £5.
You're talking PlayStation Plus here, aren't you?
Yeah, I probably am. And it may come along. I mean, I read a thing about it when it was first in its inception, that they had a tech demo of it, or an early preview that was made for Oculus, I think it was, or Morpheus. I forget which one. It was one of the VR technologies anyway. And that they said that was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. You really felt you were there. And they said it was funny because Ripley's, I don't know, shorter than the guy that was writing the preview on it. And he said that it was very weird because she's shorter, and you get that as soon as you put it on, you sort of brain tells you and you feel shorter because of the visual cues. And that I thought it was interesting. But yeah, have you done anything else this week? That's about it for me.
Well, I mean, I've been kind of nerding out a couple of times this week. I think the first thing I nerded out over was the new Gears of War trailer.
Yeah.
Because so Xbox dropped a... we've talked about it previously on the podcast, but it was a Mad World trailer. And what they've done for Gears of War Ultimate, they remastered the Mad World trailer and put it out. And it just looks fantastic. And it just... Did you see it? Did you watch the trailer?
I did, yeah, and I loved it. And it was funny because we talked about it, I think, on last week's podcast. I mentioned my dad asking me about, what was that tune, Darren, that I liked on that trailer? And then we talked a little bit about what Peter Moore said about it, how he closed his eyes and everything, and it was like a bit of a revelation in trailers because up till then it had been like hard rock to accompany such games. And yeah, and then I saw the news and watched the trailer, and I was just like, wow. Yeah, brilliant. Well, a master stroke, I thought. Just, don't try and jazz it up too much. Just remaster the original because that was masterful in its own right as a trailer. It
was just fantastic. It was amazing. And I showed Nicola because she's kind of big into Gears of War. So I showed Nicola and we found on YouTube, we actually found all of the Gears of War trailers kind of back to back. And we just sat there and watched all of them because one of her favourites is like Gears of War 3 when they're running through all of those people that have just turned to ash. I think that was like Sun Kill Moon or something like that was the band that did that.
I remember I got hold of that tune because I loved it that much. Yeah.
It's really good, wasn't it? And it was so we ended up watching all of the Gears trailers back to back, and it kind of started with a rough looking one and finished with that one, and it was just really good. It was just something special about that. And we're only we're about a week away, aren't we? We're less than, because we're getting it in the UK. We're getting it on the 28th, which is Friday the 28th, but I think the US get it on the 25th on the Tuesday. So we get it a day before the bank holiday weekend.
Wow, what a good kickstart to the weekend that is. Yeah, when I watched it, it sort of touched me again. So what I did, I didn't watch like all the trailers, but the thing that it moved me to do was to watch the next iteration of when they brought that song into it. Again, so I watched a bit in Gears of War 3 when there's a very moving scene. I won't spoil it. I mean, it probably would be allowed to. It's been out long enough, but. Do you know the bit I mean?
I do, but we should save it just in case anyone's waiting so they can play the Ultimate Edition.
and then they cue that music again, and it was just such a good nod to the trailer and worked really well with the scene. And I watched that bit on YouTube, and I was like, classic. That was good.
So that was my first kind of piece of nerdy stuff. The second was kind of over the weekend where they had the Disney Expo, the D23, was kind of happening all over the weekend, and there was just so much Star Wars and Marvel stuff coming out of D23. It was absolutely amazing. I'm trying to go dark now on the Episode 7. But it's becoming so hard. Someone actually put a picture of Luke Skywalker in Episode 7 into my Twitter feed the other day, which I was really annoyed. They've now been unfollowed. And it's just really hard because I just don't want to know anything. But at the same time, they're showing kind of screenshots. They didn't show any new trailers, which was fantastic. They did show one screenshot of Rogue One, which is Gary Whitta's penned kind of film that we're going to see after Episode 7, and that looked fantastic. That just looked like a ragtag bunch of rebels, and it just looked, I can't wait to see that. I think that's kind of one of the ones I'm really excited for. I think all of these things that are happening in the Star Wars universe at the moment, all of the stuff that when I was a kid we'd always make up in the playground and things like that. So they showed that, and they also showed the Lego sets as well. So all of the Episode 7 Lego sets, and I just want them all. I looked at my wife and I was like, I want them all. she just kind of took all my credit cards and debit cards away from me at that point. But they just look so good. There's some really good things. And I've actually got, in my movie room, I've got these Lego minifig shelves, and they're by a company called Crobble. Crobble Designs, I think, is the website, and you basically have these kind of oak shelves with little minifig. They got Lego in the middle of the shelf, so you can mount your Lego minifigs. And I'm just thinking I need a couple more because the amount of really cool minifigs that are coming and really cool kind of sets that are coming, I'm going to want them in the movie room. So, and I also, at the weekend, I bought the Big Bang Theory Lego set as well. So
I saw that, yeah.
It's really good. So I've got all of the characters there, so I definitely need another couple of shelves. So, but their wife approved, so it's okay. She's happy for those for those shelves to come into the movie room. But so we had all of that stuff. We had like Star Wars, just marathon from D23. We also found out that you're going to get Episode 7 figures in Disney Infinity, and also anyone who's fans of Big Hero 6, it's coming to Kingdom Hearts 3, so which was quite cool.
Wow. Did they also announce, not really games related, but was it at D23 that they announced the opening of Star Wars Land?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, how good does that sound?
Yeah, it just sounds amazing. They did. I mean, what they're saying is, I think next year they're going to start to build in both Disneyland and Disney World those Star Wars worlds. There's going to be a whole Mos Eisley cantina. It's just going to be amazing. I was just, I've got my eye on another trip to Florida, and I think I'll wait until those have been built, and then I'll go then.
Yeah, may as well. Oh, well, cool.
It was just so fantastic. I mean, it's really good to see Disney kind of mixing, because they also showed some Civil War. We didn't get to see it, but they showed some Civil War footage. They had Benedict Cumberbatch come on screen and talk about Doctor Strange as well. And it was really nice to see like Disney saying, yeah, we own all these properties and we're going to tell you all about them. They also announced Incredibles 2 and Cars 3 and stuff like that. There was just so much over the weekend. Every time I looked at my news feeds, there was some amazing announcement from D23.
Yeah, their diversification over the last few years is truly staggering, really. And they seem to be delivering well. With each acquisition, they're keeping the quality up. I suppose, really, I'm reserving judgment until episode 7, but I'm quietly optimistic.
Yeah, me too. I really like J.J. Abrams. I've always kind of enjoyed his stuff all the way back from Alias, all the way through to the Star Trek movies, and I just think he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing with Star Wars, and from what we've seen and from the reports, it can't be bad. I probably said this when they announced episode 1.
yeah, and I was the same. Waiting for like 3 hours to download the trailer on my 56k modem.
That was a good wait, wasn't it? And you waited. I don't know about you, but I waited until the entire thing had downloaded and then played it.
Yeah, me too.
And it was just fantastic. It was fantastic.
I was so excited.
So, let's get on to kind of what we've been playing this week. So Darren, what have you been, apart from Jetpac Snapshot, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of the other gifts in Rare Replay. I've been playing Banjo Trilogy, I'll call it. So a bit of Banjo 1, bit of Banjo 2, and my first go on Banjo Nuts and Bolts, which you highly recommended. And it's a cool little game. I like it a lot. Not got very far, but I played it till like the first world, and I just like it. I do like it. I think it's a classic game. And I was thinking, wow, why don't they sort of redo this now? That'd be awesome. Another game that I had a quick go of, and I thought exactly that about, was Space Channel 5, which I'd forgotten about. I had a go on Space Channel 5, which I really liked back in the day with Ulala. It's a game by Sega. It's a rhythm action game. And I was thinking, oh man, if they just did this again now, like on one of the current gen consoles, with more dancers and tighter controls, it'd just be so cool as a party game. What else? I have played quite a lot this week. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero, still playing. Rescued the first hostage.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's me, but when I'm in the light, it seems they can't see me. And when I'm in the dark and I think I can't be seen, it seems they can see me. And there's no way for me to tell. There's no mini-map. So it's a learning curve for me, that game at the moment. So yeah, that's good, and I've been enjoying it. Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, or is it Tomb of Osiris?
Tomb of Osiris, I think.
Been playing that. Yeah. That's really cool. That's a PlayStation Plus game, and I like that. It's a bit of a Diablo clone, really.
It really is, isn't it? I had played the first level, or I didn't actually finish the first level because I had to go out, and I was getting killed by whatever that thing is at the end that destroys as you got to run. But so far, I'm quite liking it.
It's a quality game. I really do like it. It's really good. It's got the loot and the sort of hook and the gameplay of Diablo. But but it's also got a few puzzles as well. Just sort of pushing block puzzles and things like that. Actually, there may be a few switch puzzles as well. But it's sort of punctuated with these puzzles now. You don't get that in Diablo. So there's a little bit of sort of cognitive play to complement the just run and gun stuff, and it's good. It's got really high production value. I really like it. It's a cool game. I thought I wasn't even going to bother with it, but I've been finding that quite interesting. And I also had a quick go on Storm. That zombie game on Xbox One that's just been released.
Yes, Survivor something, Storm Edition.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, How to Survive, I think.
There you go.
Yeah, Storm Edition. And that's pretty cool as well. But again, it's similar to Diablo. It's similar to Lara Croft and the Tomb of Osiris in its gameplay mechanic, except it seems so far, because I've only played a little bit, it's like short-range melee weapons to bash the zombies, so I keep getting sort of beaten up because you've got to get really close in. Played that a little bit more of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I haven't completed it yet, and I even played, because on Saturday I ended up, don't ask me why, but I ended up at a craft fair, and amongst all the bangles and stuff for ladies, I found this little stall that had like bloke's stuff in it. So I had a look. I was rooting through the bloke's stuff, and he had a little tin full of Star Wars figures, and I was like, oh wow, let's have a look. And I was late in the day, so I'd missed all the best ones, but he had a couple of Ewoks in there, and I thought, oh Sam, you'd love these. And really I loved them, but I was like, Sam, look at these are brilliant, they're called Ewoks. So I got myself a Chief Chirper and a Logray. From
nice. So Chief Chirper, he was the one with the bones kind of around his neck, and it was kind of very grey, wasn't it? Kind of.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But he hasn't got his head. He hasn't got his headdress and things. He's just all that's been lost. And Logray,
naked. You got a naked Ewok.
Yeah, I got two naked Ewoks. But I love Logray because I love that sort of cream and brown stripy thing that he's got going on.
Yes.
And I remember at school I didn't have him, and my mate did, and I always wanted to play with Logray, and I was like, now I can have him. My parents said that they couldn't have that figure, and now I'll have him. He will be mine. So I got him anyway. I bought him for Sam. I said, look at these. And then I was like, these are Ewoks. And I was like, do you want to see the film that the Ewoks are in? And Sam was like, oh, yeah. So we came on, watched Return of the Jedi, and I showed him the Battle of Endor and everything in there. And he sort of, I'm trying to get, and I'm slowly trying to indoctrinate him a bit into Star Wars. And then,
so did you watch the whole movie or just watch the end bit?
He sort of had the Daz cut, really. So right. I didn't play any spoilers, so I skipped a few bits. And I wanted to skip. So he liked C-3PO and R2-D2, so he saw them going up to Jabba's palace. And then I skipped it when it got to just before the Rancor battle. Because I just thought, with Han Solo and that, I just didn't want any subliminal things going into his head before he watches it as a fully cognitive young person. Mm-hmm. So I skipped that, skipped the Rancor monster, pretty much skipped to Endor, but Endor started a lot sooner than I thought. So we got to see the speeder bike chase, which he really enjoyed, and then the space battle, and skipped to the Emperor's chatter, and then blowing up the Death Star. And then I was all excited by the end of it, so I was like, I need to blow up the Death Star. And so I had to go on Rogue Leader on my GameCube, fired it up, and did Death Star Attack, which is the first Death Star run from Episode 4, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then I had to go on Strike at the Core. That's it, the last level, Strike at the Core. Right. And I haven't been able to do that since I got my GameCube out. I used to be able to do it with my eyes shut. I kept dying. But I was like, come on. And I did it. And I was like, absolutely so happy. And, it's the best Star Wars game, I think. For reliving those moments, it's the best one that's come out. And it's not been beaten yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember in its day, it was just kind of mind-blowing that Rogue Leader was just a fantastic game, wasn't it? Yeah. I was, and we'll kind of get to some old Star Wars games a bit later in the news, but I would love, it's funny because the kind of term rare replayed is coming up a lot. I'm hearing it a lot in podcasts and things, but I would love them to kind of rare replay the Star Wars games, and create a bundle of all of those Star Wars games, and that would just be, kind of touch up Rogue Leader a little bit, kind of get some Shadows of the Empire in there, and I just thought that would just be amazing because I really did enjoy Rogue Leader. I'm very jealous that you've still got it on GameCube. Yeah,
I've got 2 copies of it as well because my GameCube is an NTSC version, and when my GameCube was in storage, I bought a PAL version for my Wii so that I could play it on that. So, but now I've got the Wii's in storage, but I've got the GameCube out because Sam was playing Mario Sunshine, and so. Yeah, I've played Rogue Leader, and it's awesome, mate. Apart from a slight, fuzziness to the graphics, it holds up pretty well. And it's like 2001 that was out.
Wow. Is it widescreen?
Yes.
Wow. That must look really good on your projector as well.
Yeah, and well, it would be if I looked into this, because I got a progressive cable for my Wii, which made it P instead of I, so you got 480p instead of 480i. And so when I got my GameCube out, I was looking at my cables. I was like, sure, because Rogue Leader was one of the first games that had an option for progressive. Mm-hmm. So I was like, right, I must have this cable. Anyway, it turns out I haven't got the cable. And the reason is, when I started looking at it, is not many were made. Only the first GameCubes actually had the port for this cable. But because of when it came out, there weren't many HD TVs about. So they actually discontinued that port. They stopped making the GameCubes that even had the port for the progressive cable to give you that 480p experience. So a GameCube with that port is actually quite rare, but not as rare as the cable. Because unlike most consoles that deliver HD, where the processing is done actually on the console, the GameCube didn't natively do that. So the actual processing was done within the cable.
Oh, right, okay.
And so I was looking to buy one. I thought, I'll get one on eBay for like £3, and I'll have a lovely crisp Star Wars experience, because I've got a GameCube that's got that port. Anyway, they're like hyper rare, and they've got a price tag to match. You're looking at 100 odd quid.
Wow. That's just crazy, isn't it?
Really rare, really hard to get. It might even be more than that. But yeah, it was loads of money, and the reason I was looking into it, and the reason is because the processing to make it into that sort of almost HD experience was done on the cable. Yeah, but yeah, it is widescreen. And my projector's pretty fussy, so if it wasn't widescreen, the projector would just decide to give it maybe in 4x3?
Yes.
Yeah, it would just give it me 4x3, because it does that with Halo, and it annoys me, and there's no way I can stretch the screen.
Right. I'm going to have a look through my storage unit, see if I've still got it. I really want to play that now.
The music, honestly, Anthony, the music, the atmosphere, and that beginning, the intro sequence where the X-Wings are just hovering, ready to attack, it's brilliant. Worth having a rummage for, definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got to go to storage anyway at the weekend, so I think I might just spend a little bit longer there.
Yeah, do it, man. So, what have you been playing? I've played quite a list there.
Well, I played also, I played Lara Croft as well. Enjoyed that. That's fantastic. We can co-op, so maybe we should get a group together and co-op on that.
Yeah, because I think you can play 4-player, can't you?
You can, yeah. I think so. One of my friends, he's also got it, was looking to kind of do some co-op as well. So maybe we can have a group of us kind of doing that.
We should do that
one night this week. I finished. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. No spoilers, but it's bloody fantastic. I loved it. Because I was saying last week about I was playing it, got very kind of caught up in it, and then my PlayStation 4 overheated because we shut the audio cabinet doors.
Oh, yeah.
So
close the blast doors.
Yeah, close the blast doors, and then my PS4 just overheated, and then so I started playing it again the next night, so and I didn't want to stop, so I was just enjoying it so much. I stayed up probably about an extra hour and a half than I normally would have done, and I just couldn't put the game down. Once I'd kind of started going through and started solving some of the puzzles and things like that, I just couldn't put it down. I needed to get to that conclusion, and I was loving it, and it was really good. So I highly recommend everyone's Gone to Rapture. As we were saying last week, it looks stunning. The music is fantastic. I now have the soundtrack on my iPhone, listening to that a lot. I just love the music, so that's fantastic, fantastic soundtrack, and I just can't recommend it enough. So you really need to finish that game, sir.
Yeah, it's the next thing on my list. I'm gonna grow up a bit, put Jetpac to one side, and I'm gonna play Everyone's Gone to the Rapture till it's finished. How long is it gonna take me? Can I do it in an evening?
You definitely can, because I had 2 sittings, so I reckon I probably played about 5 hours from start to finish, and I had it done. And it's Jessica Curry. That's the
she's the composer, isn't she? Yeah,
she's the composer,
or the writer.
Fantastic.
Of the music,
I did tweet out when I finished it. I tweeted out to Chinese Room, who are the developers, and I just congratulate them, because I just thought it's such a masterclass in storytelling and kind of driving the player that you want to find that next puzzle and you want to just try and solve it. It's a masterclass, and as I was saying, the music is absolutely stunning. So that was it. So I kind of finished that and was very chuffed at the end. So I've kind of been playing that. I've also still been playing Arkham Knight as well. Still playing Arkham Knight. I've done all of the side missions now, apart from the Riddler trophies. and I'm still contemplating that New Game Plus. That New Game Plus got a little bit closer last night because they released the next DLC pack for the Season Pass, and that is the amazing 1989 pack. So you got 2 packs in August. You got the 1989 pack, which gave you the Tim Burton Batmobile, and also the Michael Keaton Batsuit. And it looks incredible. I tweeted out a picture last night on my @ChessmanUK, and it just looks stunning. The only downside is the Batmobile, you can't shoot anything. It doesn't do that tank maneuvering that the Arkham Knight Batmobile does. But apart from that, it's incredible. And with the 1989 pack, you also get some race missions as well. So you get some in the AR section.
Yeah.
You get to do some Tim Burton styled racetrack. So there is the Joker's parade from Batman.
Yeah, I remember playing that on the Amiga.
Oh yes, that was fantastic, wasn't it? On the Amiga, do you know what? It's like back then when you look at those graphics, you just thought you were in the movie.
You did.
And now you see it. And then the other one, so you have that, and then the other one is penguins. So there's like Cobblepot something, and you're basically it's very icy. There's lots of penguins, lots of big yellow ducks from Batman Returns.
Cool. I was going to say it's the game that keeps on giving, but I suppose it's the game that keeps on selling.
Absolutely. It's a game that keeps on giving me return for my investment.
It's all about the ROI. It's all about the ROI.
I got an email from Simply Games today, and they were selling Arkham Knight for about £24.
Oh, wow. That's a good deal.
So that was a really good deal. So yeah, so they got that, and then there's also another pack of skins. They had the Long Halloween Catwoman skin from anyone who knows the Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb Long Halloween graphic novel. And they also had a whole bunch of kind of 1970s Batman, very kind of blue and grey, and also first appearance Batman with the purple gloves. So there were some really good Batman skins there, but I'm sticking with my 1989 Batman now. And I was actually playing it last night and listening to the Prince soundtrack as I was racing around, and I was just like, it doesn't get any better than this. I just absolutely love that game. So far, I have to say, I think that's my game of the year, just for the amount of fun that I'm having with it.
I think it is, and especially, your time ratio there, you've put a lot of time into it. You spent longer on that than I did on The Witcher. It's amazing.
It really is. I'm kind of like 40 plus hours now on that. And then the last game I've been playing on, I think it was over the weekend, I downloaded Toy Soldier's Toy Chest. So Nicola, my wife, she's a big fan of the Toy Soldiers games. She's kind of played them all, and she downloaded it and just looked a ton of fun. So I kind of downloaded my copy on my Xbox and started playing that. It's also available on PlayStation as well, and it's a really good tower defense game, but with a twist. The whole toy box, you can jump into the defenses that you lay down, and you can shoot. You can actually kind of do the shooting rather than just leaving it to your defenses, and it just works really well. It's got He-Man, it's got Assassin's Creed, and it's got G.I. Joe in it as well. You do have to actually buy those separately if you want to use the He-Man and G.I. Joe or Assassin's Creed, but they do pop up in other challenges as well, which is quite cool.
It's like batteries not included, isn't it? It's like best content is sold separately.
Exactly. He-Man sold separately. But they did have there was a level that I was playing where you had to kind of take out lots of men-at-arms, because there was loads of them, and that was good fun. So it's a really good game. It's a really good arcade or Idea Xbox game or PlayStation game, and it's really good. They continuing the same kind of formula. It doesn't look amazing. It's not as good as it probably could look. It looks very similar to the 360 versions, but it's really good fun. It's a really good game, and it also gives out lots of achievements. You're talking like 100 achievements for just finishing a level.
This is why you like it, isn't it?
I saw them pop on my wife, so I was like, hold up, she just got 150 achievements for doing that.
I'm buying that. Right, Batman out the window. This is easy Chivos. I'm going for it.
I really do. I'm kind of finding a lot about myself recently, about my gaming habits.
Is Teela in it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, that's a shame. And I wonder if they'll bring out Skeletor and his mates to sort of fight against He-Man. That'd be cool.
Well, they could be. They could be in the levels later on. I did take out Orko. Is it Orko?
Yeah, that's it. Orko, yeah. Wow.
I took him out. There was loads of those trying to invade my toy box, so I took those out, which was good fun. But no, there's some really good modes in it. The multiplayer is good fun. You can co-op, and also there is a thing called a weekly war, which just has some really challenging maps, and they're only available for a week. Hence the title. So it's a really good game. It's well worth the. I think it was about $14.99 on Xbox, but I had something like £6 or £7 worth of kind of rewards, of Xbox rewards, so it took it down to below £10 for me. So
wow.
So I was like, that's a must buy. So I just got it.
Yeah. Why not? A game you can just have a little quick dabble on.
Absolutely. I'm always impressed. I don't the Xbox reward scheme. I really like it. Every month I seem to get a little statement, and I have points added to my or money added to my account. I'm always impressed by that. I think it's a feature that not a lot of people kind of talk about.
Yeah, it does seem that it's gone under the under the radar a little bit. I sort of got the hump with it a little bit because they didn't include Xbox One purchases in the first few months of the Xbox One's release, and it annoyed me because so most people would buy their Xbox One and make a few purchases of games. Yeah, that didn't go towards your Xbox rewards total, and I was a bit annoyed, but I couldn't be bothered going through the rigmarole of trying to contact them to question them about it. I did have a look on the forums and that, but I couldn't really find much about it, so I just left it. But I thought, humph, I bought Rise, Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, and Need for Speed, whatever it's called, Need for Speed Rivals, I think it was, all together, and nary, I got nothing. I got nothing for my troubles on my rewards, and I was annoyed about it because 3 purchases all at the same time for a new console. I thought, oh, this is good, I'll get some points here. I got Jack. And then they just waited until the dust settled before they sort of went, oh, we'll do it now. And I just thought it was a bit shifty.
Yeah, but it's definitely working now, isn't it? Because all I'm buying is Xbox One games, and I'm getting I get a fair reward this month.
Yeah, totally. But that's cool. That's cool.
Excellent stuff. Well, should we get on to the news section?
Yeah.
So, and in this week's news section, we're going to talk about an interesting competitor to Kickstarter. We'll talk all things Sony with some great announcements coming from those guys, and we'll also get nerdy about a re-release of an old classic. And that story items, that's with me, and that's the first one up this week, and it's the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Did you have one of these, Darren?
No, and I sort of moan about fanboys, but when I was young, I was a fanboy. I had a Commodore 64. And
you're one of those people.
Yeah, most of my mates did. There was only one guy in our cul-de-sac that had the Spectrum, and we always take the mickey out of him.
See, I was good. See, even back then, I had both. But my butler used to just press the keys for me. But anyway, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum is getting a re-release, coming out on the 24th of August from Funkstock website. It's the same form factor. ZX Spectrum, and it's coming out, and it's got 1,000 built-in games. So this is just all of your Spectrum back catalogue all coming out. It costs about I think it's £100, $99.99. Like I say, it's coming out from Funstock's website. I think it's also going to be available on Amazon as well, and it has some fantastic games. Like it's got Night Law, Back to School, all of those really cool kind of 80s Spectrum games. So I mean, some of them we've already got on Rare Replay, but there's some really good games that are coming out. You got obviously Monty Mole and Alfreda's Ain Monty and all of those games, and I'm very tempted. It looks very cool. It's got it's a joypad looking, so you've got your up, down, left, and right, and it's just so you'll have all of that without the fun of those tape recorders that you used to have to play to get these games started, and that horrible noise that I'm sure was brainwashing us as children. But this from Funstock was a crowdfunded campaign, and it raised, I think it was like £155,000, and then was developed, and it's also supported by Sir Clive Sinclair as well.
Yeah, cool. I heard about this, and it's really cool. It's good for the Spectrum to have a revival. It's good that it's got the backing of Mr. Sinclair himself. 1,000 games is good. Has it got school days on it as well as Back to School?
It does indeed, yes.
Yeah. I used to love changing the name of the teachers.
Were they to your teachers? Is that where you were?
Yeah, you could change the name to the teachers. Well, you could name everybody, couldn't you? You could name all the kids as well. Oh, man, it was good. And then you could write on the blackboard, and then the teacher would tell you off if you, swore. Oh, it was good.
It was it was kind of school, wasn't it? It was SKOOL, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Daze was probably DAZE or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was just, there's some really good, and it's even got the fantastic Daley Thompson's decathlon as well, as well as track and field. Yeah, Daley Thompson's decathlon. It's a real, I must admit though, with the Rare Replay coming out and playing all of those games, it really has unearthed a bit of a retro gamer in me, a bit of a kind of nostalgia. And I'm normally kind of, I just care about the good graphics. I'm just looking forward. But now with things like this and Rare Replay, I really am kind of starting to look at, I want to get those consoles out of storage. I want to start playing those old games again.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's very strong, the power of nostalgia. I think this is a cool thing. I do think £100 for an emulator is a bit over the top. Especially looking at it, I think £100. But even though it's only 10p a game, I think it's 10p a game it comes out in because it's 1,000 games.
Yes.
But I think £100's a bit steep because I've seen these little Mega Drive things and stuff that it's like a pad and you plug them in and you get loads of games from the Mega Drive or some system or another, and they're about 25, 30 quid. So I don't know. I think £100 is a lot. I've noticed that there's a few good games that aren't on it. There's no Dizzy games, which is a shame. No
Really?
Yeah, no Chucky Egg. No Paradroid. And I mean, I'm like the Prophet of Doom, aren't I? No Iridium, which I enjoyed, and no Jet Set Willy. Jet Set Willy, that's like a prime Spectrum game.
Are you sure Jet Set Willy's not on there?
That's what I read. I don't know, I haven't got one, but I read Jet Set Willy wasn't on there.
Oh, man, you've just crushed me.
But the good news is, any games you haven't got, if you owned them and then you've ripped them to a ROM, let's say, it's got a little memory card port, a micro SD card or something like that. It's got a port on it, so you can put ROMs on it and you can fill the gaps.
Yay!
So you can do that. So that's pretty good.
My happiness has been restored.
So yeah, you can put all the games that you're missing or any games that you want. If you've got them in a legal manner, of course, then you can stick them on an SD card and it will accept them and run them. But I do think just the fact that you can do that means obviously it's an emulator. Emulation's a big great thing, but you can get an emulator for free on your PC if you look in the right places. And I just think £100 a lot because unless when I felt it, it really felt really heavy and stuff, but I don't somehow think it will. I think it should have been about 40 quid. But there you go, we'll see how it sells, won't we? I think it's really good though, anyway, because it's sort of, even though I was a Commodore 64 person, I still like to see a Spectrum, and I played on the guy's Spectrum when there was no one else to play with. I'd go around to his house and sort of he would demonstrate the games on there, and I did like Attic Attack. That's the first place I played Attic Attack and Night Law and Airwolf as well. Airwolf was better on the Spectrum than the Commodore 64, I would say, as well. Yes. That was a good game. And yeah, the games you mentioned, like that Off We Design Monty, for instance, that's sort of sprite. Was it sprites on the Spectrum? Was that the way that it worked? It had it could go into more detail because it didn't use the big blocky pixels. But the 64 had the better music. But there's a whole big debate about which console was better. I think most people side with the Spectrum, to be honest. See,
there was fanboy wars even back then.
Oh yeah, there always was. I think that was a massive thing. That, and the thing is, the Spectrum was British after all that, and the Commodore was Amiga. But the Commodore was American. But I was too young to even realise that. I was just like, yeah, this is what I've got. So we all stuck together. But yeah, it's a great thing to come out. I was going to say to get, but I would hesitate to get it. As I don't feel it offers true value for money, but I suppose the buyer will determine that, because if it doesn't sell, then they'll probably bring the price down.
Right, exactly. And like I say, it's already made $155,000 on Kickstarter already. So, I guess a lot of the people that are going to buy it have probably backed it anyway. They'll probably opt for the tier that gives them the actual console as well. So, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it does sell. But I just thought it's just because the one thing it's the same size, or it's the same same form factor as a Spectrum. It doesn't have all the keys. Like I say, it only has a few of them, but it looks fantastic. I love the colouring. I want to feel those keys again. I want to feel those rubbery keys.
Yeah, we're a complete target for all this sort of thing. It's the stuff that's coming out. It's that 30-year gap. There's a 30-year marketing ploy, I think, and every 30 years or they'll bring out what was out 30 years ago, because they'll be that age where they're sort of looking back with rose-tinted glasses and they've got that money, that cash to spend.
Yes.
So
I wish whenever I had one of those when I was younger, a lot of the stuff, I wish I just kind of kept one sealed in a box and just kind of locked it away. I'd have been a really weird child if I'd done that, but I really wish I'd have done that.
I've got a mate who did that. He's got everything in his sort of bedroom wardrobe at his mum and dad's house. And I went to his mum and dad's house, and he went, "Come and see the room." So I went into his old bedroom. It wasn't as bad as Great Expectations, because there wasn't all cobwebs all over the place, but it was just the same as where we used to go. And he opened his wardrobes, and there's just everything there. He had a CDI, he had the Mega Drive, he's got a Commodore 64, he's got a Commodore Amiga, his Amstrad CPC 64, and I was just like, wow. He even had some Boglins. I don't know if you remember them.
Were they little characters?
Little puppet things, yeah. They were well cool. Just all sorts, and he's just got it all, and I was like, oh wow, because I always had to sell my thing to get the next thing. Whatever I had, I was like, right, I flogged the 64 to get the Amiga.
Well, it sounds like he's just sealed. He's got his childhood sealed in a room somewhere.
Yeah, and he's brilliant. All he needs to do is change the wardrobes to sort of plastic display cabinets, and he's done. It's awesome.
And you're done. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic. So the next piece of news is with you.
Yeah, so the next one, we talked a little bit about the Xbox's fortunes in Japan, and that it hasn't really had much of a fortune in Japan. But there's an interesting little piece of news regarding the Xbox One in Japan, and it includes Rare Replay, our friend. So the Xbox One Rare Replay has managed to make the top 50 in Japan, even though the console's hardly sold a thing. So that's really cool. And it shows the, hunger that people have got for these nostalgic games and for these collections. It's not just UK and US. It's also, it's over in the East as well. So it's just really cool. It got to 44th position in last week's charts, and that's a pretty mean feat, considering that there are only about 55,000 Xbox Ones in Japanese homes. And this is a all-format chart.
So it's that on an all-format chart. Wow, I bet every single one of those Xboxes now has a copy of Rare Replay.
Yeah,
wow, that's really good going. Yeah,
so it just shows that, Rare Replays really, it's sort of encapsulated that hunger for nostalgia, and pretty much everybody in Japan that's got an Xbox must have rushed out and bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's just so cool. I didn't even know that the Xbox was marketing anymore in Japan, so that's really good. If they were, that's definitely kind of pulled off. Well done, awesome stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece of news is with me as well. This is just a stat, really, about the recent upgrading of Windows 10, or the recent release of Windows 10. Free if you're on Windows 7 or Windows 8 to upgrade, and we've discussed this on other podcasts, so I won't get too into it. Mine is still, I upgraded mine on the morning of release. It's working perfectly fine. It's great, really simple upgrade. My dad did it without my help for once. He heard that I did it, and he just followed the instructions and he did it. He didn't have any worries. He had confidence in it, and it worked for him as well. And I haven't heard anybody complaining.
No, I've got mine running on my MacBook, so I use Boot Camp, and it's working. It's working absolutely fine. They actually updated Boot Camp over the weekend, and because the one problem I had was that the trackpad, or the little kind of sensitive pad on the MacBook, wasn't working in Windows 10, but they updated that, and that's now working.
Oh, excellent. So you're enjoying the lovely benefits of Windows 10 as well. Have you done any streaming or anything to it? You don't really need to.
I have, yeah. I did a quick test just to see if it was okay, to see if it was working, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it worked really well.
It's good, and I found it's good that I can open the Xbox app if I haven't got the Xbox on, because it's a bit of a faff for me because I've got to turn the projector on as well. But I could, if I wanted to just do a quick message or check trophies or something like that, or just see who's on, I can just do that from the Xbox app. I know I can do that from Smart Glass anyway, but if I'm working on the laptop, it's just quite cool that I can do that as well. But anyway, as of 17th of August, it's a few days old, this statistic, so it'll probably be more, but as of 2 days ago, Windows 10 has been installed on over 53 million PCs.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool, man. Yeah.
That's really good.
It's not been long, has it? When did it come out? July 23rd of July? Around about that time,
I think it was, yeah. It must have been about 23rd or 27th of July. I mean, I bet that's it. I bet that's breaking, like, kind of same time frame. I bet that's smashing kind of Windows 8, the take-up of Windows 8, because I know that was very slow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, this has been voiced by NeoWin, which Microsoft haven't confirmed it themselves as yet. So this is a website called neowin.net. They've got this stat from somewhere, and it says that the operating system is now 4.95% of the market already, in just less than a month. So it's quite amazing. Yeah, so I just thought it was worth mentioning, really. People are upgrading and picking up with Windows 10, and we're not here getting a big furore on the internet about people that are unhappy. So you could say, really, with the internet dramas and stuff, that no news is definitely good news for Microsoft.
Absolutely. See, it just shows the power of free, doesn't it? That's a free download, a free upgrade, and people are just, they will happily move on to the next OS as long as it's free. So I bet those figures would be very different if it was if they had to go out and buy it.
Yeah, it just shows how cheap we all are, doesn't it? It's like the power.
It does. It really does. Everyone likes something that's free. Apple are doing it with their OS as well, and it just shows. It's really good for those platform holders because they get people to move on with them rather than having to worry about still supporting drivers and or everything for the older versions. They can happily and kind of quickly kind of end of life a previous version and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this a little bit before, but if Microsoft owned Intel or something like that, they'd be in such a more strong position. Like Apple, they have the hardware as well as the software, which puts them in sort of a unique, well, not unique position, but a very strong position because they can manage both together. And Microsoft made their money from software because they've never owned the hardware. So they're bringing out they've got their Windows Phone, they've got the Surfaces, their tablets now, and they've got the Xbox One, obviously, and they're looking at all this universal app stuff. So I'll be interested to see how they move forward in terms of hardware and getting more of a handle on the hardware to sort of keep that customer base with them, or what they do regarding charging for when it comes that there's a significant enough update, because they say that Windows 10 is the last version it's the last operating system. It's the last Windows or whatever. So it's only going to be updated from now on. I don't know whether they're going to change it one day to some other name, but they said there's not going to be no more sort of Windows 10's the last operating system is what they said. So I don't really know what to make of that.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll probably just keep iterating kind of as the years go by, won't they?
But I'm presuming that there'll come a point where they will ask for some money, and it'll be fair enough as well. It's a good model because you're giving people won't be able to really argue. You had your operating system for so long and it's worked really well, and then they say, well, we're going to give you all this on top of that. But there'll be this sort of fee. I think they'll go for I personally would imagine they'll go for a sort of open office model. Open office model, not open office. That's completely in competition with Microsoft. What's their office suite called?
Microsoft
Office. Is that what it is? That's what
is
that what it's called?
Excel, Word, and PowerPoint is MS Office.
Yeah, I know, but where you pay per month though, it's got its own name, hasn't it? It's not just called Microsoft Office.
Oh, you mean Office 365?
That's what I was looking for. Yeah. So I'm thinking that Microsoft Office. I'm thinking, that they'll give you some sort of like operating system as a service, if you like. That's what I'm trying to get out. Is that I presume, or I predict, that the model that they'd look for is to give you a subscription operating system, such as in the same mold as Office 365. That's what I'm thinking they'll go to, unless basically they give you the operating system as an underlying platform, and they hope that you then pay for the things like Office 365 as a subscription, and they'll add more different things. And I mean, they've got the store now, so maybe it's like you get the operating system for free, a bit like you get iOS for free on an Apple device, and then it's sort of they make up the difference by charging you for the other things that you might want, but you're okay if you don't want any of that. You can just carry on and use it, on your own.
Yeah, absolutely, because Office 365 offers you kind of basic functionality for free, and then it's all the kind of advanced stuff you then have to kind of do that subscription model. But it'd be interesting, like I say, it really does show the competitiveness between Microsoft and Apple, where they are just looking at each other and changing, to adapt, so they're offering the same experience.
Yeah, it is interesting, and yeah, you're right, it's free. Usually it's sort of free for consumer, and then it starts to get pricey when you get to corporate. And even me, ourselves, when we were looking at this podcast, we considered Office 365 for the email accounts. And it's all very well just having one, because it's something like, I don't know, $6 a month. But all of a sudden, when you want, say, and we're just doing this, out of the good of our hearts as a hobby and everything. But when you start thinking, well, that's $6 for me, $6 for you, and then a few other accounts for admin and feedback and things like that, and then you're thinking, well, we hope we grow, so there will be more. You're like, that's kind of unsustainable for us at this point. So it'd be nice to think that they did some kind of special offer for very small. Well, I mean, we'd probably be classed as consumer because we're not a business, but it does definitely scale up, or ramp up, yes, I should say, for corporate. But, corporate pay the price so the consumers get it for free. And the good thing about this model that I like is that Microsoft have always been it's always been a very open system, isn't it? You can fiddle about, all right, not probably as open as Linux before all your open source guys get on at me. I appreciate that. But for people that probably aren't as familiar with command line and they enjoy and can use a GUI, it's really good, and it doesn't restrict you in as much as Apple does. And some people say Apple, well, that's fine because then you can't mess it up. But some people enjoy the freedom that you've got with an operating system like Windows. So giving you the operating system free and the opportunity to purchase the things on top of that you want to, while allowing you to still have a pretty much open system, that's kind of the best of both worlds, isn't it, really, that they've got to now with Windows 10.
Yeah, absolutely, it really is, and it does give Microsoft some control to kind of roll out new features, functions to all of that operating system. I did read somewhere this week that Microsoft, within Windows 10, they can detect if you have pirated software. So if you have pirated games, those games can actually be deleted, via the software, because it's connected and they can tell, and they can actually remove the game from your hard drive.
Yeah, I read that as well. And it's in a certain paragraph, isn't it, in the EULA? Yeah. So,
because everybody reads those.
I've never stopped reading those. Well, to read them, you'd have to never stop reading them. But yeah, Absolutely. It was interesting. I read another article that sort of came after that as well, saying, all right, calm down, everybody. This doesn't mean they're going to start deleting things, but it's just saying that it is there. And, rightly so, really. It's their software. They're protecting the interests of people that have worked hard to develop the software. I don't think you can really complain about that. And the only way that you can justify really a complaint is, oh no, it's the same old privacy stuff, isn't it? It's, well, if you're going to complain about all that privacy stuff, really choose not to use that system. Don't use iOS, or don't use Windows, and try and find a system where there is none of that in at all. But that will mean reading a complete license agreement somewhere along the line and analysing it. There's no way to be sure, is there, unless you're going to either bother yourself or pay a solicitor to go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what you should do is just not pirate software. Then you're fine. Pay for your games, and then you're fine.
Absolutely. And complaining about the fact that pirated software could be deleted it just seems ridiculous to me.
That just makes me chuckle. There's some kind of oxymoron right there. But yeah, though. So that's a really kind of healthy figure. Microsoft are obviously keeping up with their competitors and just really kind of, and like I say, they're offering something very special with Windows 10.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but then the next
talking about the kind of Sony's, Microsoft's competitors. Damn it! I ruined my segue.
Just do it again, and I'll make it right.
No. Talking about Microsoft's competitors, Sony, a couple of weeks ago, going into Gamescom, Darren and I, we were chatting on the podcast with you guys, and we were just saying about how Sony, they didn't appear at Gamescom. They're very quiet. What's happening? What they're doing? Well, this week, they did a double whammy. Bam, bam. We knew that the Paris Games Week was coming, but they've announced the dates of that now. So the Paris Games Week, they're going to be on October 27th at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. GMT. They will be doing a presentation from Paris Games Week. So, and they're going to be showing us 2015, 2016 games, and they say that they've got some very exciting announcements. And then, if that wasn't enough to get everybody excited about their PlayStation, they then announced the PlayStation Experience. Now, they did this last year. They did it in Vegas last year, so everyone was expecting this to happen again. Sony were quite quiet. They were quite tight-lipped about it. They didn't say whether it was going ahead or whether it wasn't, but they're doing it. It's this time, it's not in Las Vegas, it's going to be in San Francisco, and it is on December the 5th and 6th, and they said, what can you expect from this year? And this is a direct quote from the PlayStation blog. And so for starters, tons of hands-on time with 2015 and 2016's biggest games, plus a front row seat for major PlayStation announcements, plus some of those patented PlayStation surprises you've come to expect. So this is it, isn't it? This is when we're going to get PlayStation's kind of double whammy, Gamescom, Microsoft Gamescom conference beating showcase, and they're going to show us what we are going to expect in 2016.
Yeah, well, they have got a hard act to follow, haven't they, to beat it?
They really have. That Gamescom conference that Microsoft did was something very special, wasn't it?
Yeah, for me, if they don't announce a release date for No Man's Sky, they've lost.
That's what you want. You're like, dear Shuhei Yoshida, I want No Man's Sky. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, could that be one of the surprises? Could that be a early Christmas present?
Oh man, imagine that. They say, right, yeah, this is actually finished and it comes out. It's out tomorrow. Wow, wouldn't that be amazing?
You imagine like October, when the Paris Games Week is, they could say, maybe coming December, we've got No Man's Sky, and then during that, I'd be really annoyed if I was in San Francisco at the PlayStation Experience and they've just launched No Man's Sky. I'm just like, right, I'm off, I'm going home now.
Yeah.
So
what's the point in being anywhere else except in front of a screen?
But this is so this is a 2-day thing. You can buy your passes now from the PlayStation Experience website, and you also need to give them, when you recommend, they strongly recommend registering your PlayStation Network ID at the same time. So they're obviously going to give you something special for attending this PlayStation Experience.
Oh wow! And let's hope it's not just like a gamer pick.
It's probably just a background or something, but it still kind of shows that you went. And also during it, on the Sunday, Capcom are going to be doing the Capcom Cup.
All right.
Try and say that. Yeah, so that
I won't bother.
So there it is.
I won't bother trying. Capcom Cup.
The ultimate Capcom Cup, and so they'll be doing that as well. So when you get some of the world's best players competing for the title of Street Fighter World Champion with a £250,000 prize pool.
Wow, and that was me thinking that it was going to be Power Stone that they were playing.
Oh, that would be so good.
Man, where's that? Where's the remake of that?
Or Mega Man. I saw on the when I was looking on the PlayStation and Xbox dashboards today, I saw that Mega Man Collection is coming out very soon.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
There's kind of a rare replay on Mega Man.
There's a big following with Mega Man, and I've got a few Mega Man game lying around somewhere, but if that's the plural of Mega Man games, Mega Man games. I've never played a Mega Man game, so I don't know what all the fuss is about. Is it good? It must be good because everybody loves it. Everyone's always going on about it. I sort of just don't talk about it, but yeah, I'm going to come out there right now and say I actually don't know anything about Mega Man.
They're worth a play, I must admit. They are very kind of, as you found with Rare Replay, they are kind of incredibly hard, and you have to be very precise.
Oh, I like that.
I'm waiting for Mighty Number 9, which comes out by the creator of Mega Man, who I can't remember his name, but the creator of Mega Man, he's got his own game, a kickstarted game called Mighty Number 9, and you can see that on the Xbox dashboard at the moment. You can pre-order, and that's coming out this year, and that looks very good. That looks kind of a spiritual successor for Mega Man, because he can't call it Mega Man, even though he created it. But that's coming out on PlayStation, Xbox, and Wii U, and I'm hoping PS Vita as well, so I can play it on the train.
Oh, cool. The creator is called Keiji Inafune.
That's it. See, I knew it was Inafune. I should just go with what's in my head.
You should go with just got.
I should just listen to that little gamer that's in my head. The voices in my head. But there you go. So Sony are announced. So they've got 2 announcements. So double whammy from Sony. Can't wait. And obviously we'll be covering them here on the podcast.
Wow, yeah. And more Sony. They're going for it this week. We have got a little bit of news about Project Morpheus that has been released. Basically, Yoshida said that it's ready to go. But we're waiting for experiences, and that's why it's not been released earlier, because really the software hasn't yet sort of not really caught up, if you like, but there's the experiences to suit the HMD's head-mounted devices aren't really there yet, so that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for the experiences to sort of fit the technology. So Morpheus is due to be released in the first half of 2016, which is quite a wide window.
Ooh. Do you think we'll get some of that at the PlayStation Experience,
maybe.
though? First bit of 2016. Yeah. This is at the end of 2015.
Yeah, maybe. I
hands-on, first public hands-on?
Because, I mean, there's been Morpheuses out there. I'm on
Expedia now, booking my tickets.
And I saw a video this week on YouTube. There's a video available if you just look it up. It's called sort of hands-on on Morpheus. Could probably put the link at the bottom of the podcast, actually. So it's hands-on on Morpheus.
Well, they actually had. I mean, I saw on my Twitter feed over this week, there was a press show of Morpheus
it was the
somewhere
heist,
in the US, and they were showing some really good stuff.
Yeah, and this has
from
been
Sony
before.
Studio
I've read
London
about this game before and read the description of what I saw, but it actually showed it you. So it'd probably be worth adding a link there. It looks pretty cool. The first part of it is that you're sat in a chair, and the player is sat in a chair, and in the game he's sat in a chair getting threatened by this big arc geezer, like Vinnie Jones type. He's got a blowtorch in his hand, and he's pretty fierce. And I think there's something about you assuming the same position in VR, in the physical reality as you are in the virtual reality. It's probably could make it quite scary. So yeah, this was the quote. This was from I read something from Shuhei Yoshida, and I can't find it right now, which is annoying. But this one is basically in a Reddit post using Dennis Castleman. That's it. So a guy called Dennis Castleman, who's a hardware R&D engineer at SCE, and he said basically he's been working on Sony's Project Morpheus for 3 years. It's going to market in 2016, but it's a bit different for things like cell phones or established technologies, because this is a new and emergent technology. He says when he was designing televisions, it was usually 18 months to get a new model into production. But a VR HMD, so that's virtual reality head-mounted device, is a bit different because it takes time for the component vendors to ramp up million-unit volumes. But then he adds, in our case, the hardware is ready to go, but we're just waiting for game titles to catch up with the hardware. So yeah, and then the quote from, I can't quote it directly, but Yoshida said, basically, he sort of echoed that and said, yeah, basically we're waiting for the games to catch up, and that's what it is. Everything's waiting to go. It's just interesting, isn't it? We're right on the cusp. It's a big wide window that, from between January and June.
Yes.
Next year for it to come out. But I like the idea of Morpheus. I like the idea that they're looking at it as not just a single player thing, but they're looking at it that if you've got the cash, you can. I saw this thing about it, and it was saying you can have multiplayer on it, just like having couch co-op with pads with your gamepad. You can have couch co-op. They're looking to facilitate that into the experience. Couch co-op with separate Morpheuses all together in the same room, and I think social experiences in VR hasn't really been explored, so that'll be really interesting to see as well. So yeah, I mean, maybe they're going to blow the lid off it, at PlayStation Experience, and that'd be really great to see.
Absolutely. If you think about it, the best way to get word about VR is to get people using it and to get people excited about it, because it's incredibly hard to demo. In one of those showcases, no matter how big the screen is, you can't really convey the depth and all of the emotion that you're going through. But if they let a whole bunch of gamers, not press, but gamers, kind of hands on this, get to have a play with it, and then the word of mouth is going to spread, as long as it's good, which I'm sure it's going to be, then that's the best way to do it. So that PlayStation Experience would be a perfect place. You've already got, the room is packed with Sony fans, so, why not show them this new technology that they're going to want to go out and buy? And I have to say, hats off to Sony for actually not bringing it out this Christmas, because they could have panicked. They could have panicked and said, we haven't got anything, let's bring it out with a few games and just get people they'll wait for the good stuff. But instead, it sounds like they're waiting till they have the good stuff before they can get it out there.
Yeah, and we've said this before about, we've used it more in sort of game release terms of don't release a game in a rush, because it'll always be a bad game, whereas a delayed game could always be a great game. And maybe they're just following that philosophy a little bit for their announcements. It's like, well, if we haven't, they kind of fluffed it. Well, not fluffed it, but I'd say they blagged it a little bit with E3, with sort of their words of what they'll deliver in the future, but there was nothing tangible there. So maybe they just thought, hold on, we can't do that again. So we'll just wait, and I imagine they're busy beavering away on whatever it is, and they're like, yeah, this could be big news, so let's concentrate on this, and let's give them a big announcement. And really, they need to, don't they? Because there's a high expectation, because they missed out on Gamescom, and because of the kind of not woolliness, but because of the weight that we would have to see the fruition of the announcements at E3, then really there is a high expectation, I think, for them to come out with something really big at their next conference, and especially so, or more so, after Xbox's really, really strong conference at Gamescom. You know, they've got a bit of slack to pull up there.
Absolutely, you know, and they are pulling it up. I definitely think so, because, you know, last week we had Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. This week we have Volume, which I can't wait to play. It actually came out yesterday for the US, and I got all excited, and I thought I'll download it and I'll get ready. But it actually doesn't come out until today, and I checked just before I came up to do the podcast, and it was there, so I kind of that's coming out, and that's by the guy who created Thomas Was Alone. So Clive Biffle, I believe his name is, and that was that Thomas Was Alone was such an amazing game. So I've heard it's a cross between Metal Gear Solid and Tron, so I'm like, yeah, take my money.
Sounds
now.
good, doesn't it? So you weren't tempted with Zombie, because I think that came out in the same batch.
No. See, that was an interesting one. I kind of hovered a bit, but then I was like, no, I'm going to get Volume this week, because Volume, unfortunately, it's been delayed. The Vita version has been delayed by Volume. It is cross-play, cross-buy, so if you buy it on the PS4, you can then play it on your Vita, but the Vita version, unfortunately, has some additional Q&A that it needs to go through, so it's not going to be released today, but Volume by Clive Biffle is up on the store now.
Yeah, cool.
And it's really interesting, you know, we've just had three items about Sony, and then I'm just about to lead into another Sony exclusive. So definitely Sony are kind of, okay, we're quiet around Gamescom, but afterwards, once the dust's settled, you know, when we've got our own window, let's just go out. And the next piece of news was, again, D23 over the weekend, and Sony announced a Darth Vader themed 1 terabyte PlayStation 4, and it looks awesome. And I noticed today when I was walking around Tommy John's, there was a sign in game where you could pre-order now for your 1 terabyte Darth Vader PlayStation 4. And have you seen the controller, Darren?
I have, yeah.
That's very cool, isn't it? That controller.
Yeah, it is.
It took me a while, but did you figure out why it was kind of black, red, and white and stuff?
It's supposed to look like Darth Vader, isn't it?
Well, it's supposed to look like Darth Vader's little kind of button bit.
That's his little computer panel at the front, yeah.
That's it, yeah. It took me a while to work it out, because when I first saw it, I was like, why is that button red? Why is that like that? And then it all twigged, and it all just kind of fell into place. And I was like, ooh, that's quite clever. I quite like it. I mean, it's different, and it looks fantastic. But so they have 2 packs. So they have 2 packs for the Star Wars fans. So you've got a Disney Infinity pack, which comes with Disney Infinity Starter Pack. It comes with a Boba Fett Infinity figure, and that is the PlayStation at the moment is the only place that you can get a Boba Fett Infinity action figure. So I'll be buying mine on eBay. So that's the only place you can get that at the moment. So it comes with Disney Infinity, all of that, and it also comes with a Star Wars Battlefront version as well, where you get Han Solo's blaster as some exclusive DLC. So both of those, so they're the 2 packs, so covering all of your kind of Star Wars fans, old and new. But it also, what it comes with is reworked versions of Racer Revenge, Jedi Starfighter, Bounty Hunter, and my favourite, and I know you love it as well, Darren, Super Star Wars.
Yay. Yeah, I know, it's great, isn't it? It's great that these are coming out. I was worried when I first heard about it that they'd only be sort of accessible with the buying of the console or something, but they're coming to PSN, aren't they?
They are indeed. They're coming. They will be after when this comes out. So this comes out on November the 17th, both of these. After that date, Super Star Wars will be available on the PSN. And for anyone who doesn't know Super Star Wars, it was a SNES exclusive. The reason I bought my SNES, because I was a Mega Drive boy, the reason why I bought my SNES was for Super Star Wars, and it was amazing. Now, my only hope, obviously, being Empire Strikes Back is the greatest film of all time. In that camp, I'm hoping that Super Empire and Super Jedi also come out as well. And I'm quite surprised. You know, you reported last week that we have more N64 exclusives on the Xbox One than we do on the Wii, and now we're getting Super Star Wars, which is SNES exclusives, are coming out on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think it's that there's 6 available on the Wii U. So yeah, it's going to be coming close that the Nintendo's console has got the least available amount of games. The 3 big boys. That'd be quite amusing, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I saw this story and I thought it was really cool. But apparently, some fans have voiced disappointment because they had higher expectations.
Shut up. A Star Wars fan be having disappointment. I mean, come on, what more could you want from this pack? You've got a Darth Vader theme pack, you've got this awesome controller, 4 games, including Bounty Hunter, which was a cool game. I mean...
well, it wasn't about the games included. It was more about just the hardware itself. And they brought out a meme to illustrate their disappointment, and it makes a comparison of this new Star Wars Special Edition PS4 with the Star Wars Special Edition Xbox 360. So it's got a lovely little picture of the R2-D2 360 against the PS4. And this I found this on a website called twinfinite.net. And so it's got Star Wars Special Edition Xbox 360. Now, it looks like R2-D2. You've seen this, haven't you?
My nephew has one. It's amazing. And when you turn it on, it makes R2-D2 noises.
Well, there you go, right? So it's.
I was over his house on Saturday, and I would almost put that in my coat. I tell you.
I don't blame you. I'm looking at the picture, and it's a fuzzy, rubbish resolution picture. It looks amazing. So you've got the R2-D2 replica Xbox 360 with R2-D2 sounds, which you've heard, so you'll know how cool that is, which I haven't heard them yet. C-3PO controller, everybody. So it's golden, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow. Featuring silver D-pad and cabling. And help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope, quote, Easter egg. I don't know if it does that when you turn it on or when you open the disc tray or something, but it's got that sound bite somehow. And then it's got...
When you get a red ring.
Yeah, it's when it breaks. It's so cool when you hear it. You're like, oh, wow, that was amazing, but that's the last thing you'll ever hear that console do.
Help me, Xbox support. You're my only hope.
Yeah. Yeah, sign it off, Steve Ballmer. We need you to sign $14 million or billion dollars or whatever it is to get this back by DHL. And then, so it's got all that for the Xbox 360 Star Wars Special Edition. And then the Star Wars Special Edition on this meme for the PS4, it's got a picture of Darth Vader on it. The controller sort of looks like him too. And then it just stops there. Yeah. So it's like, they're sort of like, meh. We wanted more. But like you say, they always want more.
Absolutely. I mean, we've said this time and time again.
We always want more.
I think something went wrong in Sony's development cycle and a game dropped out of Christmas. Whether it wasn't just Uncharted, but it was something else as well. Because this it does reek of... Here's a load of cash. Let's make up something. And someone's, they've just done almost a decal on a PlayStation 4. But it does look quite cool.
They just went down the local retro arcade. They ripped Darth Vader's head off the nearest pinball machine they found with Star Wars on and stuck it on the side of the PS4. And then they walked away. That's done. We've done it now. But there's also some designs. People, some of the internet people out there have decided to do their alternative designs as well. And that's on the Twinfinite article as well. So I'll put that as a link at the bottom of the podcast. There's some pretty cool ones. There's one of Hoth with 2 AT-ATs sort of striding along. And there's a few that use the divider where the light is sort of 3/4 up on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using that. So they've, as say, a lightsaber. So one of them's got Luke sort of stood below that light and he's holding up his arms and it's as if the light is his lightsaber.
Wow.
And there's a couple with Darth Vader doing that as well, and an R2-D2 one. And I was looking at this and I thought, what would I do? And so I had a little think, and I thought my idea for this would be I would have a Tatooine themed Star Wars PS4. So it'd be sort of the orange of the deserts below the line, and it'd have sort of Luke Skywalker or something on it, and the line would be the horizon. And above that, you'd have the twin suns of Tatooine sort of setting. And I thought that'd be nice.
Nice. Lovely.
Yeah, and I also read that you can't buy... They're not going to sell the pad separately. You can only get it with the PS4 Star Wars Special Edition bundle. They're not going to sell the Darth Vader pad on its own.
Wow. That's interesting because over in Xbox land, they have a Forza Special Edition coming out. And they have some really nice controllers that are all kind of like racing livery and things like that. And those controllers will be coming out separately.
Yeah, because we talked about that, didn't we? Yeah, I remember asking you, because it's always a bit of a pain if you get something like that and you want it to match, or I remember having problems with Guitar Hero when I first got it, and there wasn't an extra guitar. You couldn't buy the solo guitar, and it was like, well, you'll have to buy another copy of the game. It's like, I don't really want to buy another copy of the game. Yes. So yeah, it's interesting.
But definitely, I won't be buying that because obviously I've already got a PS4. But Super Star Wars, I will be buying that straight away. Obviously, there's a bit of a worry. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time gaming because Star Wars Battlefront comes out, and then Super Star Wars comes out as well. So there's some. It's going to be an interesting time. I don't need sleep, so it's fine. But
so much games.
I can't wait. Honestly, the more games that come out, I just cannot wait. So that's just going to be a really interesting one. And I mean, keeping on the Star Wars tip just for a moment, if there's any Star Wars fans out there, I can highly recommend Marvel's comic book run at the moment. So Marvel are doing Star Wars, Princess Leia, which has just finished, just got to episode 5, I think last week or the week before. They also have a Darth Vader comic book, which is kind of happening after the explosion, after kind of the New Hope, after the Death Star. Darth Vader's in the Emperor's Bad Books, and he sends him off on some stuff. And then also, it's only up to issue 2 now, but they have a Lando Calrissian comic book as well. And all 4 of those are just awesome. They're really good. The Star Wars ones are fantastic. They just had a breakout issue 7, which was a couple of weeks ago. There was a breakout issue, and they just basically covered when Obi-Wan was on his own in Tatooine, and that was a really good episode. And I'm loving them. I just think they're really good fun.
Cool. I haven't read any of those, but I bet they're really good. I've told you before, I'm sort of behind really with comics and stuff, and the last ones I read was sort of Kick-Ass 1, Kick-Ass 2, and what started it was Watchmen, and it took me a little while to adjust back to reading the comic format, but once I did, it was great, and I got really absorbed in the story, and I thought it was fantastic. So I'd like to get into comics again. It's just like you said with all the games, it's just time, isn't it?
It really is. I have on my DC and Marvel app on my iPad, because I now read them digitally. I've got something like, I think, 30 large boxes of comics, spanning DC, Marvel, 2000 AD, etc. And I always used to buy them paper, but I got more and more kind of digital, and now I just read comic books on my iPad. And there's some really good standouts at the moment. The Batman storyline is fantastic at the moment. There's a really great graphic novel or comic book series which is called We Stand on Guard, and that is America invading Canada. So America have invaded Canada. Canada are like kind of the rebels, if you're kind of keeping to Star Wars, and it's just fantastic. There's lots of big robots and kind of America attacking Canada with these big mechs, and it's just such a great comic book. And there's only 2 issues of that at the moment, but there's just some really good stuff at the moment.
Wow. If I was going to start, which I sort of want to, what would you recommend as a good start? I had this conversation with one guy years ago and I never started. And he said, and I can't remember the name of it, and maybe you will because you know your comics and stuff, and he said that there was this awesome sort of serialized comic, and you can get it all in one sort of big, thick annual now, or then and still now. And he said it was all about going back in time and stuff, and that's about as much as I know. So is there a comic that's like really, really amazing where they do a bit of time travel? It's not Doctor Who or anything like that.
Well, it all depends, because you do have kind of your Days of Future Past if you're in X-Men, and they kind of go all over the timeline and continuity like that. I can't think of anything that kind of stands out, either from not just from Marvel and DC, but from kind of all of them, and also from 2000 AD. But it all depends. I mean, there's some fantastic standalone graphic novels that are out there, both for DC and Marvel. I would always recommend Dark Knight Returns, which I've started rereading again after playing Arkham Knight. So that's kind of set in the future where Batman's old and he's retired the Knight. It's very much loosely, the Batman Superman movie is going to be loosely based on that.
Yeah, but, I mean, I loved Watchmen when I read that, and I found the Kick-Ass ones so much better than the films as well, because the ending was so much better in both, actually. But so are these as good? Are these other graphic novels? Are they as good as? Are they the same standard as Watchmen, or is it that Watchmen, when you're on the scene, that it's like, oh yeah, Watchmen's rubbish compared to all this, or
no.
what level is that?
No, I mean Dark Knight Returns, which kind of came out around the same time as Watchmen, is fantastic. And I love Watchmen. I even like the movie, but I've got two different versions of Watchmen. I've got a dog-eared graphic novel that I kind of lent around to a lot of people, and I've got a what DC call an absolute version, and that's a very big kind of oversized hardback, and they're all kind of mounted in my movie room, and they look fantastic. So you've got Year One, which again is Batman Year One, and that's kind of right back to the start when Bruce is just becoming Batman. You've also got things like The Long Halloween, Killing Joke, where the Joker, a very kind of almost horrible graphic novel by Alan Moore, the creator of Watchmen, and his take on the Joker. Hush was a fantastic storyline, which was Batman Hush, and it just goes on. And one of my favourite comic books of all time, which was from the pages of 2000 AD, has just got a re-release, which is Zenith, and that was Grant Morrison, who's a huge contributor to a lot of comic books, both on DC, Marvel, and 2000 AD. And Zenith is about a 1980s pop star who has superhuman powers, and it is just fantastic. It's really interesting when we talk about nostalgia, where I read Zenith way back when I was probably about 16, and then I haven't been able to get hold of it because it went out of print, and because of copyright, it just disappeared. And then they released this bound version, and I grabbed it and just kind of sat down and I started reading it, and it was just as good as when I was reading it when I was 16. It wasn't a case of like, God, that was crap. What was up with my 16-year-old brain? This was just as good, and I think even more so, I probably understood it a bit more now that I am a little bit older than 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could talk for hours about comic books, because there is just the landscape of comic books at the moment is just fantastic, and some really good stuff is coming out. In the Marvel side, you want to look at Ultimates. So they did a run called the Ultimates, and that very much is kind of where we're getting our Marvel, why we're getting our Marvel Cinematic Universe. I remember there's one page in the Ultimates where they're all sitting round, all of the Avengers and stuff, they're sitting around going, well, who could play me in a movie? And this was the first time that Nick Fury was depicted, and he looked like Samuel Jackson, and it's just really interesting. And Tony Stark saying, well, Robert Downey Jr. would play me, and and you got things like that. And then the Hulk, they were saying, oh, well, Steve Buscemi, you should be the Hulk, and I was like, that's just profound.
Wow, sort of breaking the fourth wall.
It really was. And then suddenly, kind of fast forward about 5 years, and we got an Avengers movie, and then two of those ran true.
Prophetic, yeah.
It was very cool indeed.
Oh wow! I was going to just mention about when we were talking about the consoles, because we didn't cover it because I think it came out before we started with the podcast. But do you remember the PlayStation 1 console, the PS4 limited edition?
Oh yes, I wanted one of those. Yeah,
they were massively hard to get hold of, weren't they? Well, they were pretty cool. I just had a quick look on eBay, and you can get one for £1,700.
Wow.
Yeah.
They are releasing the controllers, aren't they? So if you can get the console, they are releasing those, the 20th anniversary edition.
20th anniversary edition, yeah.
Controller, so you'll be able to get those soon.
Wow. So the next piece of news is only a quickie, really. It's an announcement for EGX, and it's just basically saying that HTC Vive is going to be at EGX 2015, and it's the UK public debut. So it's been around, people have had a go before. I presume it's been to the UK before for sort of behind closed doors, press-only events. But it's the first time at EGX that the public's going to get hands-on with the beast that is the HTC Vive. So we're going, and I personally, this really is probably the epitome of the reason why I want to go. On the 24th of September, which I think is the first day that it's open, there's going to be a chat with the Valve developer Chet Falisek, and he's going to take to the stage to present a developer session, which is going to be called the Year Ahead in VR, and that session is going to take place at 3 p.m. And if you can't attend it, it's going to be live as well via the EGX YouTube channel. Well, that should be really interesting. I think I'll be watching that to find out what delights we have. And it'll be the first thing that I've seen really of Valve discussing Vive. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. And I'm thinking that hopefully it'll start a lot more buzz, because nobody I talk to has really heard of Vive yet. And that worries me a little bit, that maybe the marketing isn't doing what it needs to, but maybe it's just that good that they're confident that once they take the lid off, it's just gonna explode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a landscape that's controlled by Morpheus and Oculus, isn't it?
Yeah, and did you read that thing about a lawsuit against Oculus?
No.
Yeah, no, I'm not prepared with the information for this at all. But I read that basically there was a guy that worked for a software company, and he helped Palmer Luckey with some of the development of Oculus. But when he did this, he was working for this other big company. And so this company has decided to say, well, that was on our time. So it's sort of, we helped develop it in some way or form. And everybody thought it would just get thrown out of court, but it was announced this week that basically a court in the US, the judge has basically said, no, it won't get thrown out. Bring us your evidence and we'll look at it. So it's not as simple as an open and shut getting thrown out of court thing. There's actually going to be, it looks like, a court case between this company, which I apologise, I can't remember, but I'm sure if you just look up Oculus lawsuit on Google, you'll find it. And Oculus itself, and I'm wondering, could it delay the release?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. That definitely could. I'm sure the was it Oculus or so? His Facebook money would stop that quite quickly. I doubt if that would stop the release of Oculus, would it?
Yeah. Well, that's the point. Yeah, absolutely. But that hasn't happened yet. But maybe they just thought, well, we'll see what will happen there.
Absolutely. Did you see that awful Time magazine cover with the chap who created Oculus on? It had him with Oculus on wearing a set, wearing the Oculus Rift, and then kind of jumping up in the air, and behind him was some kind of superimposed beach. Honestly, if you just Google kind of like Oculus Time magazine cover, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just like, if that's the first bit of advertising about Oculus Rift, and it's just some dodgy photo, it's terrible. Honestly, it's very laughable.
Wow, I found out the information actually here. I may as well just fill in the gaps rather than leaving it as vague. So earlier this week, the New York Times, it was that confirmed it, that the lawsuit accusing Oculus VR of stealing trade secrets and code for the development of the headset would not be thrown out of court as expected. So the lawsuit was instigated by ZeniMax Media. They're a game publisher that sued Oculus earlier last year in the aftermath of the Facebook deal, and they say that the Doom guy, John Carmack, who was a ZeniMax employee when he provided help to Oculus founder Palmer Luckey, and then Carmack would later go on to join Oculus as the company's CTO. So they're saying that Carmack gave Luckey that help, but that was illegal because he was an employee of theirs. So it was thought that it would just get thrown out. But it looks like a judge for the United States District Court for the Northern Districts of Texas in Dallas denied a request by the defendants, which is Palmer Luckey and Oculus, to dismiss the lawsuit. So the judge writes in his ruling that ZeniMax merely had to show enough fact to make it plausible. So they've done that. So it seems that it'll get a bit further along the road. And yeah, there's a jury trial scheduled for the 1st of August 2016. So I hope that doesn't delay it, because it's supposed to get released in, I think, the first quarter of next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's hoping. And like I say, I'm sure the Facebook lawyers will be on that like a shot if that goes to court.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they're on it now. But yeah, sorry about that. That was just a tangent that I just remembered as we were talking about VR.
Awesome. Well, my next piece of news, very quick one, is just according to a post on Reddit, some users in Germany received an email from Amazon saying that Uncharted 4, so the next real big release from Sony, is going to be coming out in 2016, and they actually gave a specific release date of March the 9th. So it could be, again, that Amazon Germany, and along with Amazon France, always kind of spoil these announcements. But by the looks of it, someone hit send on that email a little bit too early.
Oh, wow. March the 9th. Classic.
March the 9th. There you go.
What day is that? Is that a Friday?
It's probably.
Or is it a Tuesday?
I don't know. If it's Germany, it's probably going to be. I'm just looking at my calendar.
I'm just trying to open my calendar now.
It's like, come on! It's just the icons bouncing on my desktop.
We're on air, for goodness sake.
So yeah, so March the 9th is a Wednesday.
Unusual date.
But there you go. So that was a post from Amazon Germany.
Well done. Slow hand clap for Amazon Germany.
And then someone from Sony went round and slapped somebody quite quickly. So, because I'm sure that's what they wanted to announce at either Paris Games Week or the PlayStation Expo.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next piece of news from myself is just really a quick speculation or observation from GameStop over in the US. And according to a recent study, they're saying that approximately 2 in 5 gamers are leaving upwards of $200 unclaimed by holding on to video games that they don't use anymore. So they're saying that you're basically leaving money on the table. It's interesting that they say this because I seem to remember an advertising campaign from either Gumtree or eBay or something like that saying something similar, that you could, do you realise you've got all this stuff you don't use and you could make this amount of money? And it's simply, I think, just to get people to give them the games because that's where the majority of their profit lies, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everybody's trying to get people to do that whole trading thing, aren't they? So, they're just trying to say to them, it's yeah, exactly. They're just saying if you finish with that, someone else is playing it. So, I mean, it's quite good if that's their marketing campaign. It's quite a good marketing campaign.
It's a good marketing campaign, but they're saying leaving upwards of $200 unclaimed. I think maybe the $200 is their retail price, not the price that they would buy them off you, because to make $200 worth of unused games, you probably need about 20 games.
Well, exactly. Whenever I go to game and trade in a whole bunch of old ones, I never come out with a lot of money. I just come out with just like maybe a bid off for the next game, or I get a game really cheap.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So they've done a survey, and they've determined that virtually every gamer, which is 90% of those surveyed, owns at least one video game that they don't play anymore. 1/3 said they have between 5 and 9 unused games lying around. 38% said they have as many as 10 to 20 unused games. I find that a bit hard to believe. But then again, I've got quite a few. Some of them mean something to me. And then most respondents, the 92%, have postponed new video game purchases in the past for financial situations. They're saying this, but 10 to 20... You see, the reason I've got some games that are dear to me on iSad, I've got these games that the experience was so good that they're dear to me and I want to keep them. And then it gets to a stage where it's like I had Gears of War 3 Special Edition, and it had an actual cog in the packet. I don't know if you remember that edition. It had like a cog that was about as big as, 2 inches across. It was a proper cog that they wear in the pack. And I get these sometimes. I never even get it out of the box, but I just like to have it. And it came to a stage where I was happy keeping it. I did get rid of it. I think I gave it to a mate because I was just I had to clear out of clutter. But if I would have taken that to game, it would have been like £1. They would give me £1 for it. So to have equivalent of $200 worth of games lying around, I just think it's a bit like, it's a typical sales tactic, isn't it? It's like, yeah, well, there'll be £200 of us selling them because we'll buy it off you for $1 and we'll be selling it for $30. So we'll add up the $30 to get to the $200, not the $1 that we'll be giving you, sort of thing. But I suppose it just highlights the fact that the pre-owned merchants, they want to keep that rolling because it gives them such a significant profit margin, and it just shows that the gamers are happy to keep hold of the games sometimes. And I think one of the main reasons that gamers probably do want to keep hold of the games is because the buyers do pay sort of peanuts for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, in the US, it's just as big as it is in the UK with GameStop and Game. But as I say, I never get a large amount of money from trading in games. I mean, I do with like maybe Call of Duty because I, as I've said before, I play that, do the campaign, and then I take it back. But I guess this is a way for them to try and stop people from owning games digitally, and to try and just get them to maybe trade in and move up to the next console. Because I know whenever I go into game, there's always somebody kind of taking in a 360 with a big bunch of games to try and trade up for a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One.
Yeah, absolutely. And Well, actually, I'll link the last piece of news into this because it just seems relevant. And this is a bit of a breaking news thing, really, because I only read about it just before we came on air. And that is that Amazon is actually going to stop doing trade-ins. They've announced that at the end of this month, they won't do game trade-ins. So
okay, yeah, interesting.
And that I find it strange. There's no reason given, and because as we've discussed, the profit here that can be made is quite a large amount. I don't know why they've done this. It's strange. Maybe they're aligning themselves for a digital future, which we discussed in the last podcast a little bit. But they just basically say this is the official thing from Amazon.co.uk about trading closure. We are closing our trading programme on 31st of August 2015. We will no longer be accepting trading submissions after this date. And basically it goes on for a few paragraphs, but essentially that's all we need to know. And I've traded in with them occasionally because it was just easier. I could just go to the post box and then I could use the trade-in, money against another Amazon game. And I thought I think I got a better deal than maybe going to game. But yeah, a massive giant like Amazon are going to stop that business. So I'm sure that publishers and developers will find that news quite welcoming.
Yeah, absolutely. You can imagine like people like Game as well, and people like GoDaddy and all of those other kind of trading sites. I think they're probably happy because, like you say, Amazon just make it so easy, and you can just do it straight away. So that's they're probably quite happy about that breaking news that's happened this evening.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, everybody's happy apart from maybe the gamers that enjoy using Amazon for that. But there are other alternatives at the moment. But I think they may get less and less as the years go on. I mean, I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon, but I think 5 to 10 years from now, we may be looking on physical media as a bit archaic.
Yes, absolutely. Indeed. Interesting.
Yeah, and the next piece of news I have, this is only a quick one as well. The PS4 version of The Witcher 3's New Game Plus DLC, it's the final piece of DLC, is out now on the European PS Network. So this allows you to it's only a small one as well, 1.3 megabytes. It allows you to start the game again at the level that you achieved and with everything except key story items in your inventory, and it also increases the difficulty. So you can go off and raise hell as a Witcher once more, but without that sort of beginning curve, as it were. Because I think the worst bit of The Witcher really is probably those first few battles where you're leveling up at the beginning. There's a little bit of a spike there with the difficulty, but it's nice, that sort of Dark Souls-esque opportunity to sort of play again and have a bit of an increased difficulty. So my last piece of news also is about a new kind of Kickstarter competitor. So we know how Kickstarter works, where a creator will advertise their ambition to create something. And Kickstarter isn't all about just games, it's all manner of different creations, but in essence, the public, or us as the crowdfunders, will go through the wares that Kickstarter are offering, and if you see something that you like and you'd like to get made, you get an opportunity to back it, and it's got a chance of getting made if it hits a certain target. Up to now, that's the way that things have been done with crowdfunding, but there's been no way that you could actually profit as a backer from the success of a creation. And I know that for instance, we've mentioned Oculus, but when Oculus was a Kickstarter, and there was a bit of upset when, after backing Oculus, I think it hit something around about 2 million or 20 million. I can't remember, but it hit quite a few. It hit its target on Kickstarter anyway, and it got kickstarted with all these backers that they hadn't invested, they'd backed it, and then it got bought up by Facebook for something like 20 billion. Okay, so you can sort of understand the upset, because if you'd invested in the stock market and something like that happened, you'd be quids in.
Yes, absolutely.
But the backers, because that's not the way Kickstarter works, and in a way it's like, well, they never said it was an investment, but some people were like a bit annoyed about, it's a shame that we can't get, I think they're probably more than just like saying it's a shame we can't get something out of this. But can you see what I'm getting at with that?
I can indeed, yeah. I mean, and that's it. I mean, I think when, especially Oculus, because it was one of the first to be backed on Kickstarter, and I think that's the important term there, because those guys that backed Oculus, pretty much what they were buying was a dev kit. They wanted to get that early access to those Oculus kind of version 1, 2 and 3 that were available when you were backing it, and that's what they were doing. And there was just such an uproar when Facebook bought them out because they were expecting to be quids in, but like as you said, they have backed it. They haven't invested that money into it. They're just getting something early, basically, and that's what Kickstarter's giving you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, looking at this, Justin Bailey, who was actually a developer for Double Fine, he's launched a new crowdfunding solution for game developers, and it's called Fig, as in fig biscuit or fig on a tree.
Would you know why it's called Fig?
I did do, but I've forgotten. So please tell me.
It's called Fig because there is a hotel in LA called the Hotel Figueroa, and Figueroa is where, if you're in LA for E3, that's where you'll see people like Double Fine, where you'll see Tim Schafer, where you'll see all of the big industry people are there chatting and drinking. And that's why it's called Fig.
Oh, wow, excellent. So it's not called Fig after my old schoolmate Fig?
No, unfortunately not. Maybe he was awesome, but no.
That's a shame because he was called Fig because he was really good at an arcade game, and I can't remember which one it was. It was something like Commando, but it wasn't that. And if you didn't put your name in on the high score table, it came up with Fig.
Awesome.
So he became Fig, but I digress. So on the advisory board for this, you've got Fergus Urquhart, Brian Fargo, and Tim Schafer. So they're going to be on the advisory board for this. And what this is going to allow is not just to back a game, but to actually invest in a game.
Yes.
So this is the crux of the matter. It's going to allow you to profit from the success of a game. I suppose that's the essential message. That's the fundamental difference between Fig and Kickstarter. This will allow you to reap some gain from an investment in a game rather than just backing a game, and that's the crucial difference. This has come about because there's been some changes in US law that are going to allow for a smaller kind of investor to invest in something like this. Up till this recent law, it was only you needed to sort of prove that you had like so many hundreds of $1,000s of income and things like that, and it was quite difficult to prove it, and there was a lot of red tape. It wasn't a simple thing to implement for something like this, for this sort of model. But there's this new financial law, and this will allow sort of a smaller investment to be made. I think they're looking at when it all comes to fruition, it'll be that you can make $1,000 investment minimum. So you'd have to sort of equal that, and that's another thing where Kickstarter's different because you can just back with £5, £5, the price of a game. You don't even have to go up to the price of the game, do you? You can just show that your interest or your support with a token bit of money.
Yes.
Now to actually make an investment, it's going to be sort of a minimum of $1,000. But once you put that in, should the game or the creation be successful, then you're in line to profit from that. And imagine if you invested rather than just backed something that had a meteoric rise like Oculus. You'd have a smile all over your face, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, so I think you kind of get best of both worlds. You're backing a game so it gets made. The two of us, we're Shenmue 3. I'm doing Ukulele. But I'm just backing those. But because I believe in Ukulele, I could have given them £1,000, and with a return on investment, and I think with games, it's quite safe that you're on good games, and if you can identify a good game, then that's quite a good investment. Obviously, I'm not telling our listeners to go and invest in £1,000 in this, but for like Ukulele, that's going to be an amazing game. Whenever you see it, and it's now getting played at Sony events and things like that. And also Microsoft events, that's going to be huge. And if I could have given them £1,000 as an investor, I would have happily have done that.
Well, they're saying that there's plenty of people that they've seen or their studies have unearthed that aren't really investors on the stock market and things, but they love games and they've got a good income. They've got a bit of money that they'd like to invest, so they invest in this and that, or they talk to an IFA or whatever, get some financial advice, and they'll put it into things that they're advised to do. And they said, well, how about you're loving games, you've got this money, you want to put it in some kind of savings scheme. Why not get your money in something that you're interested in and be able to profit from it as well? I mean, I think that sounds fantastic. Bit of a gamble, but still, that's part of the fun of the fair, isn't it? Never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Absolutely, and the Fig website, which is kind of live, and they have a game that's up there. So the very first kind of investment is live, and it's a game called Outer Wilds, which is by a company called Mobius Digital. And the interesting thing about Mobius Digital is that Masai Oka, who is Hero from Heroes and the upcoming Heroes Reborn, is the founder of that company.
Oh wow! I knew I recognised that name. Cool. Yeah, so we'll see how this Outer Wilds plays out, and it's just an interesting thing. And this could be the cusp of another massive website. I mean, it's always difficult to predict when something is new like this and it's breaking new ground, and there's a heck of a lot of legislation involved. I was reading around on it, trying to get my head around how it works, so I could discuss it on here. And I found that there's an article on it from the website Giant Bomb that was really good if you're interested in the financial side of it. It explained about the different regulations that were set, about the new ruling that's coming in the US that's going to allow it, and it goes into it in probably in too complex to talk about on the podcast, but in terms that a game you can understand as a gamer, it's pretty straightforward, and they break it down into sort of why would we be interested, what happened, how can we do this, and it's really interesting. One question that I had was it all seemed to be very, as a lot of things are, because of the size of the country, quite US based. It was the US legislation that's allowed for it to emerge, and I was thinking, so how does that affect a UK investor?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to ask you exactly the same thing, because, obviously to invest, you would probably need a US bank account, etc. And I just wondered, because it is an act that has been passed by the government at the moment, I don't think it probably translates to the UK, but it's definitely worthwhile finding out.
Yeah, and I think probably what it'll be is that at the moment because with Kickstarter it's really good. For instance, like back in about Shenmue 3, and I just paid my amount in dollars through PayPal, which was fantastic, which means I got the game at the dollar rate, which is, we always suffer a little bit because they just convert. It's like, if it's $40, it'll be £40, and we're just like, hey, yeah, did you not know there was a convert? Of course you do, but you get more money from doing it that way. Thanks a lot, guys. But it's really simple. It's so simple and easy to do. And I'm just thinking that it probably wouldn't apply to us in the UK yet, but if this proves to be a success, or as successful as Kickstarter is, or more so, then these things have a little way of working themselves out, don't they?
Absolutely. And the act, that I couldn't remember what it was, the act was the Jobs Act, which was signed by Barack Obama in April 2012, and the Jobs is Jumpstart Our Business Startup Act, and that's what this whole project, this whole Fig project, has been backed by Spark Capital. No, it's not Darren and I, but it's Spark Capital, and they're the guys who played a very key role in funding Oculus, Twitter, and Slack.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So, yeah, I mean, we could put those links in
definitely, I think it's definitely worthwhile putting those in the show notes,
yeah, definitely,
just so people can read them.
Yeah, and I found it to be a really interesting read. Without sort of parroting the website or writing loads of notes down, I didn't really feel it, I wanted to get bogged down in all the intricacies of the finances. But it's interesting to have a little read of, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But the thing is, there's still Kickstarter for your sort of smaller backers, because people were I was having a look in the comments, and it was like, oh, well, it's very elitist because some people just didn't understand the article, and they were thinking that it was only if you could prove you earned 200,000 that you could invest. But it will be that. I don't think you can do it straight away, but it will be that there'll be a minimum of 1,000, which is a big deal that this has been passed. But still, Kickstarter probably wouldn't be in the same place it is now, and Shenmue 3 and things like that, if it was $1,000 minimum, to back. So it's horses for courses, isn't it?
Absolutely, and there's no reason why you can't have a mixture of both. You can't have a mixture of Kickstarter and also a Fig. If it takes off, you imagine like Shenmue, they needed the money that they had to make in order to make that game and make that game amazing. They could have put it live on both of them. It's just if you choose to invest 1,000, then you get a return. But if you choose to kickstart it, then you just get whatever cool bit whatever cool level you've opted in for.
Yeah, I think as a backer stroke investor, the choice is easy, because we will be able to, it will crop up on one or the other, and we'll have choices there. What the difficulty would be is if you're coming up with a new idea or a new concept for a game, And your choice is, do I put it on Fig or do I put it on Kickstarter? That's where the choice would be a headache. For us, just backing or investing, that's easy. We have a look, like we're in the shop, we look at the apples, see how ripe they are, and we put our money down. But when it's something that you're passionate about, when you're not rolling in cash to do it yourself and you're appealing for money, you want to make the best call for your business, don't you, and your staff and ultimately your business. So it would be quite a big decision to decide which side to go for, whether you just want backers or whether you want the investors. Because, and this was part of what it mentioned on Giant Bomb as well, it was like saying that if you've got the investors, then it does take some of your bottom line out, because you've got, obviously they're going to get paid a percentage of the success. Whereas on Kickstarter, you're simply backed, and so you don't owe them anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is. I'll be interested to see when you get the first kind of big developer using Fig. If it does actually take off, because obviously, there's only one project on there at the moment. But it'd be really interesting to see if it does actually take off. Who uses it? Because I know Tim Schafer in Double Fine, they had two, didn't they? They had Massive Chalice, which is now an Xbox, Xbox Gold Card. That was on Kickstarter, and you would think someone like Double Fine doesn't need Kickstarter, but it's really interesting. So we've had Shenmue, we've got Shenmue 3, we've got Yooka-Laylee, we've had Mighty Number 9, which we've already spoken about in this episode. All of those are Kickstarter, so it'd be interesting to see if people are, maybe want some extra funding and they're looking for people to invest.
Yeah, and I was talking to a friend just this weekend who's got a stack of cash in the bank, and he was complaining, that interest on savings isn't that great, and he doesn't really know what to invest in. He didn't want to go into property, and and then if I'd have known about this, I'm going to tell him anyway. But I would have been like, well, how about this? He's not that into games, but if you couple that sort of thing, you're sort of looking for a new investment, you've got a bit of cash to spare, you want to feel more invested, if you'll excuse the pun, in your investment, and you're a gamer, then why not? Obviously, I think it'd be wise to just sort of sit back and see how it goes. But it's just an interesting thing, and I think it's sort of been made by these Kickstarter Dream Team, and they must have said, oh, if only we could have got investment instead of just backing, and so let's develop this. But I don't understand why they would, because to me it sort of seems the thing where it said in Giant Bomb that you've got to pay the investors back, so it does take a bit of your bottom line. Wouldn't it be better just to be backed and not owe it and not owe money? And also there's another point that should be made, is that you're making an investment not in the actual development of the game and not in the developers themselves or the publishers. So your investment doesn't give you a say in the development or anything like that. It just gives you a stake in the profit. It's as simple as that. It's not that you can invest so much and become sort of a shareholder and start calling the shots in the development or design of any of the titles.
That'd be so funny if I was on the board of for Yooka-Laylee.
Well, I put my grand down.
I don't like this name, Yooka-Laylee. I want it to be called Anthony, and maybe the little guy on the back can be Darren, and I want to change the title to Sparks.
And they're sort of like, he has paid his $20.
Yeah, he's really got to, he's going to give him more than a t-shirt.
You get this on Kickstarter though, don't you? You get these entitled guys, But I'll tell you what, I bet you a dime a dozen, man, that the guys that are complaining and getting all militant and saying, oh, you do this, do that, I bet you they're not investing $1,000. No. I bet it's your $5, $10, $40 guys. I don't know. I haven't gone through to see who the militant ones are on Kickstarter projects. But just thought I'd put that out there. It doesn't give you the right to, you're not on the board all of a sudden. You're not going to be there in the boardroom having a chat about the design or anything, unless maybe they did stretch goals that included that. But yeah, you just invest in your money in the game. If the game does well, you get something out of it.
Fantastic. And my next piece of news is, that's kind of what you've just mentioned there, Darren. It kind of shows how the gaming industry is changing. And also the next piece of news, which is Press Play, the Denmark-based developers who I believe they were bought up by Microsoft, or they have something to do with Microsoft. They were the ones who created that fantastic Games with Gold, Max the Curse of the Brotherhood side-scrolling platformer, and also I think Kalimba as well, which was a puzzle platformer. So they've created those two games, and now what they're doing is they're inviting anyone and everyone to provide feedback on their next 3 concepts. So what they're doing is they're, similar to what we were talking about last week with the PlayStation Plus, is they're asking for people to vote for their favourite concept. Now, you've got to do this by September the 1st, but what they've done on the Press Play's website, they've got the ideas, or they've got the concepts for 3 projects. So you've got Project Duwaka, which is an action-packed first-person co-op game set in a dark fantasy world, and you team up with a group of friends to become a band of legendary dwarf treasure hunters, sounds good already, and explore a procedurally generated underworld filled with gold and monstrosities. Now, that was like, I might do that. But then the next one is Project Karoo, which is a physics-based multiplayer construction game set in an open world. You can build complex machines out of simple blocks, you can build any type of vehicle, and you can think of a use, and you can use it to go on an adventures. That sounds quite cool. And then the third one, which is a project called Project Knoxville, and I think this sounds fantastic, which is a third-person multiplayer action survival game in which players must work together and against each other. It goes further than any other game where it comes to dynamic relationships and spectator interaction. It makes you wonder, how far will you go to survive? So it's almost like a game show. So it's almost like a third-person action survival game show. And it's just really interesting. So they're taking feedback on those 3 concepts that I've just mentioned, and you can vote for which one you would like for them to be their next game.
Yeah, what a great idea, and it sort of mitigate the risk, don't they? Instead of just making a presumption, they go out there, and it's so easy to glean this information from the community. Why not do it? Why not offer it up there? You've got 3 ideas on the concept. Maybe they were saying, they pitched Sony, they say, look, they say, what's the next game you've got? They go, well, we love these 3 ideas, but we just can't decide. It's like, well, let's let the gamers decide. And if they're equally happy with the quality of each game, then why not do it this way? It's fantastic. And they're sort of guaranteed, if they get a lot of interest in one, that part of their job's been done for them, hasn't it? It's a marketing dream.
It really has, and it also kind of dips that kind of litmus test of the others as well. Because if one is the kind of outright winner, which I'm hoping Project Knoxville is, definitely got my vote, and I voted on the Press Play website. That kind of gets the and if the other 2 kind of have traction as well and get quite a lot of votes, it shows them that, hey, our next couple of games we should maybe make that, or we should stay away from that type because no one's interested in it. So I just think it's really interesting. What with Fig and this, I'd love to see more games companies doing this. I guess the only thing that it does do is it takes away that kind of element of surprise a little bit, because we now know what potentially what the next Press Play game's going to be. So it just takes away that kind of little reveal moment.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It takes away that element of surprise, but it makes you feel more invested in it. It makes you feel more invested in the development and the decisions that the guys that are creating these games that we love are making. And isn't that great that you feel embraced by the developers that we love for creating the content that we enjoy? It's
absolutely. You imagine Rare doing this, going, right, we've got half a team that's not working on Sea of Thieves, so would you like to make this, or this? Imagine that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and you could hopefully stop a lot of the sort of games that have bombed, or decisions that have been unwise decisions. There's some games, and I can't think of an example, you're just like, oh, why did they do that? Why did they implement that part of the game, or why did they bring this out after that game when that game was so good, and this is such a weird tangent. I wouldn't like it all the time, like you say. I wouldn't like the element of surprise to go away completely, but I think with the PS Plus voting and this and Kickstarter and now Fig, I think that these ideas are definitely evolving and starting to emerge at a more rapid rate within the industry, and I think it will become more predominant and commonplace because it mitigates risk for the developers and sets expectation for the fans.
Absolutely. Well, you got this studio which is a smaller studio. It's not a kind of quote-unquote AAA studio, and they, like you say, they want to get it right. They want to get it right first time, and this is just the perfect way of doing it. Because if they don't, this is probably an exception, but like you say, you're a smaller developer going out on the first project. Why not do this as long as they can get themselves out there above the noise to garner the votes that they need, and then they can make sure that they're making, at least they know that there's less of a gamble with the game that they're making if they've got 3 or 2 or whatever concepts going on. And then
they can be hopefully more assured that the game will be a big seller, because they'll have that audience not only prepped for it, but also with a vested interest, and they've voted for it, and they think, this is something that I'll keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely, because once you've cast that vote, like I have for Project Knoxville, I'll keep an eye on that. I will see the results, and if that one wins, I'll be more interested, and you're right, I'm instantly invested in that game, even though all I've done is just register the click.
Yeah, because you've interacted with it, yeah. It's cool. It's cool.
It's very clever indeed, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it is clever, yeah.
Absolutely, superb. And that is about it for this episode. So big thanks for listening to the podcast again. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoftheLostSpark.com. You can also find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, where we're at Lost Spark Pod. And there you'll find out about our latest episodes, some gaming news, and I try not to put any cooking pictures on there. So you can see that on Twitter. And we're also on YouTube as well. Darren, where can we find you online?
You can find me online, Wythamator, on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch. It was Wythamator on Twitch, after all. Daz a Gamer on YouTube, and at Daz Whittam on Twitter.
Awesome. And for me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live. I'm PS-Chessman on PlayStation Network, and Chessman UK on Twitter. And don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send us an email. Our email address is feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. And also, if you're feeling generous, please leave us a review on iTunes. So that's about it. Happy gaming, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks very much, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.